get all those internet comments in. I'm not going to short
We haven't talked
today.
about the offensive line. Can we do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
What the hell happened?
Terrible.
I mean, I know
it's
injuries
not new.
happen, but no. What's new to me is a guy that was very reliable once upon a time seems to have gotten old right before our eyes. Anybody know who I'm talking about?
Conklin?
I didn't want to say his name because I love him, and he's been so reliable. But my goodness,
Stinks.
he has been Wills to me is on a different level because he's never proven that he can be that good in the league.
Conklin was all pro. He played all pro.
Conklin has proven he can be an exceptional lineman, and I don't recognize him anymore.
Yeah. We were actually talking in the press box. I wonder if he might retire after the season.
It's time.
Well, the Browns are cutting him.
And
either way.
it goes.
Yeah, he's done
I mean,
here.
Gee, when linemen go, it goes fast.
Oh,
It does. I've been told it goes like that.
It can be overnight.
It's like your hot water tank go out. Oh, you know.
You got a flood in the basement. It's old.
And cold
He's
showers.
been a good tank.
Hey, it's lukewarm here. What's the deal?
That cold shower will wake the best of men up.
So I think there's a number of factors at play
That's a
here.
good analogy, man.
Jack Conklin's turned into a hot water tank.
He's a hot water tank.
Wyatt Teller's had the calf. I don't know that he's really 100%. They're on their four-string center. Like
Haagen-Dazs sucks.
he's the four-string center.
And Jedrick Wills is not that good.
Wills
Is surrendering it as a bust.
But here's the thing: when the offensive line is fully healthy, and Conklin was playing well, past years, and when everybody else is healthy, if Jedrick Wills is your worst offensive lineman, even though it's an important position, but if he's mediocre or slightly below average as your worst guy, you could live with that. It's fine. It's not going to kill you. But right now, your right tackle's terrible, your center's terrible. So now him being below average, he's your third best player. That's a problem.
You back to the Joe Thomas line. You
know,
got Alex Mack.
So much
Joe
of
Thomas.
this is timing, is trying to get all of these pieces aligned from a timing standpoint.
hard.
That's why one of the things that I was so concerned about for trading our future away for one player is because the snapshot of what our team looked like the moment we made the trade, that evolves constantly.
Yeah.
And my biggest fear is, while the window was probably 2020 to 2022, I believe, I'll name some pieces that have aged out. Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
Now we're seeing the line get old.
Baker is aged out?
I think played his best football.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think.
But none of that has anything to do with Watson.
No, the reason I'm bringing it full circle to Watson is when you make that trade, you strike while the iron's hot.
Right.
I'm gonna come back to Jason's point from the very first second this trade was done. You're looking at your options of winning.
The Rams.
And you're saying, what are we missing? Well, we're missing that top-tier quarterback because they thought in their mind offensive line was the best in football last year.
Yeah.
We've got Chubb. We've got Hunt. We've got Ward. We've got Clowney. We've got Miles. Let's go get the missing link, the quarterback. And you said from jump, if this thing's anything more than 4 games, this trade is a disaster.
The trade's a disaster? Or
for this
season?
year.
For this year.
Oh,
For this
sure.
Now,
year.
I'm going to take it to the next level because I agreed with you. I'm like, 11 games, it's a wrap, folks. They're not making the playoffs. So what ultimately my concern becomes this. We're watching players age out.
Right.
That's what the
That's
NFL
what's
is all
happening.
about. And that's why sometimes when you look at teams, sometimes it's a lot of luck.
You're right.
You get the right pieces all at the right age group and the right contract lengths, and
Right.
you win. But my fear with this team is I think the window was primed from 20 to 22.
When you have a great quarterback, your window never closes.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is.
No, that's not true. There are teams that have had great quarterbacks that haven't been able to win because they didn't have the pieces around them. You can't say just
Green
because,
Bay.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I didn't say that.
what you said is when you have a great quarterback, your
Marino.
window never closes, and I'm saying
It
that's
never-
not true.
Yeah.
No, but of course it's going to close if
Yeah.
the rest of the team sucks.
And that's the point I'm making. So
No, but-
my fear
okay.
with this trade in the long term, Bull,
Yeah.
is that yes, you had to go get the quarterback.
Yeah.
This thing was salvageable this year, I believe, even though with the injuries and everything else, and that's the luck piece that you just can't control. I just feel like Does anybody here, with the capital that we have with draft and the impending salary cap issues that we have next year, does anybody believe that we're going to be in a better position next year?
Here's
No,
what
100%.
here's
They have this quarterback for 17 games.
Yeah, here's what I would say to that.
Much better.
I do think, and we've banged on Andrew Berry for some of the draft misses, and he's had misses. James Hudson, I think, was a hit.
Yes, he
and I
was.
think Hudson at right tackle James Hudson right now is probably a better right tackle than Jack Conklin. So I think the line's going to look better next year. If Posick is able to come back, if they bring him back, I know he's interested in coming back. He loves it here. He loves working with Bill Callahan and the strength team. He wants to come back. If Nick Harris is back healthy,
We'll get Harris back for sure.
yeah, and so I think that's going to solve a lot of the line issues. I've said it for weeks. Fix the defensive tackle issue, and a lot of this stuff goes away.
Absolutely.
The linebackers, now the injuries are always part of football. You're always going to have injuries.
But how do you fix that? Because your draft capital isn't there, and your
Well,
salary
you just don't
cap
have a
is
first
trash.
rounder. You
No,
still have.
You're
still have
making it
picks.
seem like they have no draft picks for the next day. They traded their first round
Where
pick.
you make the most impact in the
But-
draft, they don't
but
have capital.
They made the most impact. They got the franchise quarterback. You say they gave rid of their future. They had no future.
You have to have the other pieces, though. That's the point I'm
But
making.
Jay, the most important piece is the quarterback.
They are going to have
1,000%.
And they didn't have it, so they had to get it.
This isn't going to be the free agents Christmas shopping of the past, where your supermarket sweep, where you're just running down the aisle and
You don't
knocking
have the
everything
money.
in. But they will have some flexibility this year, I believe.
This is why I keep saying it. We skirting around it, but yeah, you can get those pieces, you can get those parts. But what has the people on the defensive side of the football who's coaching, developing, training these people showed you that says that it will even
Agree, G. But
Gotta
it's
make a change
It's two
there.
different discussions.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not two different discussions.
It's
It's everything. Listen, here's what we're saying. We say
Yeah.
you get to the quarterback.
They're linked.
Every part of the organization
Agreed.
matters. Hold on, let me explain.
Yeah, all right.
Because you need, if the GM misses, you're in trouble. If the head coach ain't right,
Yes.
you're in trouble. If you miss on Baker at number one, you're in trouble. People are getting older. This team, we should have seen this in 2021 when they had to unload OBJ in the middle of the season. They made the decision on Jarvis Landry, and at that point, your offensive line was the best that they were. You look at 2020, the second half, and one of the unintended consequences of running the ball as much as they do is we look at the wear and tear on the running back. We don't look at it on the lineman.
You were saying once that running back or that offensive linemen would much rather
They pass block.
pass block than run block.
It saves their career. I'm looking at, and I don't want to say it because to me, Teller for a 2-year period was the most dominant lineman I've seen in a very long time. You watch some of his highlights where he's knocking 2-3 people out.
Okay.
Guess what? He got that long term. He's 29. He has a calf injury.
And I'm starting to worry about Batonio, who's still playing at a high level, but he's getting up there.
That's your base.
Yeah.
That's your power. That's everything you have.
And it's going to come down ultimately to whether it's Andrew Berry or whoever it is, supplementing in a different way because
Yes.
they have higher salary guys.
Yes.
Ultimately, if you put a crappy team around Deshaun Watson, yes, your window will close. But having that, don't you agree that having that franchise quarterback, assuming
Yes.
he eventually is the guy we think he is,
Yes.
will always give you a chance to win as long as the team around you is not crap.
Yes.
As opposed to having a crap, even like if you have a mediocre quarterback, your margin for error for the rest of the team has to be almost perfect. The Niners have a great roster.
Mm-hmm.
They've had mediocre quarterbacks. They've not been able to get over the hump. They've gone deep in the playoffs, but they can't ultimately win. They haven't had good
They
enough
looked
quarterback
great
play.
with Mr. Irrelevant yesterday.
We
It
should
was
stop
one
using
game.
that term, by the
It's
way.
one game, but
Not
yeah,
fair
they
to the
did.
guy.
They
No,
did.
that's
They
I
looked
mean
great.
it's a
Yeah.
descriptive term. People know what that is.
I know, but it's unfair to the guy.
It is, but I
Yeah.
think it makes his story even better. He went from Mr. Irrelevant to putting up 5 touchdowns
did a
in
good
less than
job.
3 quarters.
He was great.
Against a great defense.
Now let's see in 2 and 3 weeks if he's
Yes,
still looking
let's
good.
judge
But
him down the road.
But to Bull's point, I think Matt Ryan, the year the Falcons went to the Super Bowl, he dragged the Falcons team that had the worst defense
he
in
had
the
an
league.
MVP caliber year.
And so if you have that guy, now it doesn't always happen. There's plenty of other examples where elite quarterbacks are sunk by horrible defense.
Sure.
Well, Deshaun Watson played on a team that won 4 games when he was last.
Yes.
And he had an MVP type season.
Yes.
Yes.
So it goes both ways. But you do have a chance.
There's
when
more
you've got
margin
that
for
guy.
error when you have the great quarterback.
Yes.
A lot more.
I think what you want to say is your chances of winning a Super Bowl without an elite quarterback are very, very slim.
I think there's
But
almost no
just
chance.
because you have an elite quarterback doesn't mean that your window is always open.
Fine.
Because Deshaun Watson wasn't
But
a
you have
quarterback when
you
we
have
saw
a
him
chance.
last.
Like the Seahawks, right? Their window closed because they were built a different way, and you couldn't keep 8 good defensive players on the team. But if you have one quarterback, it's always going to give you a chance to have that window stay open.
Right, your
as
chances
long
of
as the
winning
team's
are
not
better.
a disaster
I
around
will
him.
argue this. I'll argue this. When you talk about windows in basketball and baseball, you can extend those. When you play in a savage sport like football, I don't believe there is a window. I talked to the people in Indianapolis. They thought they had a window too. Till Andrew Luck woke up and said, "I can't do it no more."
Yeah, no,
Well,
you're
that,
right.
that devastated the franchise.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
that
that's
was out of nowhere.
But, gee, right now as a Bengals fan, I feel like the Bengals are going to have a chance to win the Super Bowl every year as long as they have Joe Burrow.
See,
Every year.
Here's
Yeah,
the
but
thing.
the
And
reality is-
Deshaun Watson, obviously they're not going to. They may never win one. But I'm going to feel like they have a chance. And if Deshaun Watson gets back to the guy he was, which I think he will, and I think most people think he will, then I will feel the same way about the Browns.
I'll give. See, this is why I look at roster constructing. I'll give the Bengals one thing. They could have did the dumb thing that most people would have did and was let me go draft a left tackle every year. You know what they said?
Everybody said they were stupid for not doing that.
They went and got Jamar Chase.
Yeah, well,
And now
he's a generational
And
talent.
now, and this is why I'm so hard on the Browns. I'm hard on the Browns not based on what we see them do. I'm hard on the Browns because I know what we plan. You got Josh Allen. You got Herbert. You got Burrow in your own division. You still got Lamar. You got all of these dudes.
You didn't even mention Mahomes.
Mahomes is still here. So all this thought about getting better and being medium and
tough.
making the playoffs, I want to win a Super Bowl. And I understand what the rosters look like of the guys that are winning Super Bowls. And if you think this roster, as constituted with these coaches in a certain, you are in.
You're kidding yourself.
You're kidding yourself.
You're
I'm
kidding
just
yourself.
sorry. It just is what it is.
I agree that the rosters are going to. In fairness, none of those teams besides Kansas City has won a Super Bowl, and only the Bengals have gotten close.
Well, we got to play all of them, and right
Yeah.
now we can't beat the Falcons.
Yes, the Browns are behind. The
Throw
Browns
Miami
are.
in there too.
The
Miami's
Browns
in there
are
too.
behind those teams.
And
Miami hasn't done.
Hold on, but Miami has leapfrogged a lot of people.
Nah.
I feel like Tua.
I think Miami's falling apart.
Hey, I think Tua has done some things where you got to put them in a certain category where they
he
got to
ain't in
coach.
that category of quarterbacks. I don't think.
I think
No.
the two wide receivers
The
he
two
has
wide receiver
put
makes him
in that conversation.
category. Hey, they dangerous. I'm sorry, they dangerous.
are. They're a dangerous
They
team.
dangerous
I
team,
think
bro.
he's in the next tier of quarterbacks.